Something isn't quite right with the world. Something is wrong. You can't exactly explain why, or what it is that's making you feel this way, but some subtle instinct in the back of your mind knows that what you're living is somehow just wrong. Maybe the people around you are acting off. Maybe familiar locations are altered. Maybe impossible circumstances are occurring. Whatever the case, just as you are starting to fear the worst about this strange reality you find yourself in, you snap awake. Your eyes slowly open into the darkness of your bedroom, your mind disoriented as it readjusts to the new surroundings, despite the fact that you never truly left them. For a few minutes, everything continues to feel almost unreal, as though you are unsure of what is illusion and what is reality. The shadows within the room seem to take shape, glints of light become akin to eyes watching you, pockets of darkness becoming figures looming over you. You close your eyes as what feels like irrational fear overtakes you, yet you are hesitant to allow yourself to drift back into sleep, lest you find yourself once again within the dream world you just escaped. Strange thoughts cloud over your tired mind, some carrying implications that fill you with existential dread. What if you had never truly woken up? What if you were still trapped within a false reality? Dreaming. A dream is defined as a series of thoughts, images, and sensations occurring in a person's mind during sleep. Dreaming is a very common occurrence, with very nearly every person having experienced dreams in some form or another. This naturally occurring phenomenon has been the subject of study for centuries, with scientists and psychologists alike trying to understand the mystery that it is. The interpretation of dreams to glean meaning that might relate to the world around you has been practiced for centuries, dating all the way back to the Babylonians and ancient Sumerians. Dreams occur mainly in the rapid eye movement, or REM, stage of sleep, when brain activity is high and resembles that of being awake. Because of this, it can be observed within most mammals. It is assumed by conjecture that animals can have dreams as well. However, humans dream during non-REM sleep also, and not all REM awakenings elicit dream reports. Understandably, to be studied, a dream must first be reduced to a verbal report, which is an account of the subject's memory of the dream, not the subject's dream experience itself. So dreaming by non-humans is technically currently unprovable. While in a dream, people can feel as though they are physically experiencing the situations they are currently in, due to brainwaves sending signals around the dream. While at times people can remember dreams they've had for a long time upon waking up, it is extremely common to forget a dream just upon getting out of bed. Medical News Today estimates that people often dream 3 to 6 times a night and simply have no recollection of the dreams upon waking up. An interesting oddity about dreams is that they are typically around 5 to 20 minutes long in real life, but the person experiencing the dream can feel as though they lived it out for hours. I know that I've personally had dreams that have taken like the course of 2 days, but when I woke up I realized only a half hour had passed since I had last seen the clock. While it is easy to forget dreams, studies have decided that dreams can improve long-term memory, making dreaming itself somewhat beneficial. Nightmares. A particular subsect of dreaming is nightmares. This is the more terrifying side of dreaming. Whilst I'm personally happy to dream throughout the night, as I find them to be very cool experiences and they can often sort of feel majestic, nightmares are usually the exact opposite. A nightmare is defined as an unpleasant dream that can cause a strong emotional response from the mind, typically fear and despair. The level of intensity to which a nightmare is classified really depends on the person. For some, having a dream about, say, forgetting the directions to their workplace could be considered a nightmare if the dream gave them great levels of anxiety. For others, the nightmare could be far more intense, involving scenarios that could spell great harm or death if they happened in reality. Researchers have attributed the specific contents of a nightmare to correlate with the stresses in the person's life, and this can be seen a lot, especially in children. Nightmares can also come as a result of PTSD. Severe nightmares are also likely to occur when a person has a fever, and these nightmares are often referred to as fever dreams. Nightmares have obviously been present just as long as dreams and represent the more terrifying side of sleep. Sleepwalking. Sleepwalking is a phenomenon of combined sleep and wakefulness. Sleepwalking most often occurs during a deep sleep, and the actions that are performed usually line up with actions that would typically be performed while one is awake. Common activities during sleepwalking consist of sitting up and talking, moving around the house, eating food, or even making violent gestures or reaching for hallucinated objects. Although sleepwalking cases generally consist of a simple, repeated behavior, there are occasional reports of people performing complex behaviors while asleep, although their legitimacy is often disputed. Sleepwalkers often have little or no memory of the incident, as their consciousness is altered into a state in which memories are difficult to recall. While their eyes can be open during this time, their expression is usually glazed and dim. Some people can have entire conversations with someone and have zero recollection of the event when they become fully awake. The exact cause of sleepwalking remains unknown. Lucid dreaming. A lucid dream is a type of dream in which the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming whilst they are still dreaming. Characteristics of a lucid dream consist of the ability to control the people, events, or narrative of the dream a person is having. This ability seems to be trainable, sort of like a cognitive skill. Lucid dreaming has been studied and reported for many years. Prominent figures from ancient to modern times have been fascinated by lucid dreams and have sought ways to better understand their causes and purpose. I myself have a bit of experience with lucid dreaming. While I haven't been able to do it regularly, there is one dream that I have remembered small parts of very prominently, and it was absolutely a lucid dream. What happened was the dream took place in a completely different realm than Earth. I can't exactly remember the details, but it was a strange and wacky amalgamation of different fantasy stories I've consumed in my life. Usually my dreams are super realistic, to the point that I have no clue they were a dream, and I sometimes even get super disoriented upon waking up, trying to decide if it actually happened or not. This dream though was so different that I became aware that it must be a dream. I don't remember a whole lot about the other beings with me in the dream, but I do remember getting them to talk to me and me writing down stuff that they were saying or what was happening around me in a small brown notebook, hoping that if I wrote it down in the dream, I could somehow remember to write it down again when I was awake. I remember when I finally did wake up, I was super disappointed that I couldn't remember what I'd written down inside the book. That is the most prominent story that I personally have about lucid dreaming, and to this day, I wonder what I'd written down. Lucid dreaming remains somewhat of a mystery. Hyperrealistic dreaming. Hyperrealistic dreaming is a bonus entry that I've inserted into the video, because I feel like it is sort of the reverse of lucid dreaming. I have these dreams all of the time, like almost every night. Some I forget quickly after waking up, and some stick with me for a very long time afterward. What I mean by hyperrealistic is that nothing happens within the dream that makes it impossible to happen in the real world, and your senses are so sharp that you are at the same cognitive ability you would be while awake. These dreams are super disorienting, and I've had times where I felt that the entire days have passed, and I literally feel like I've been through stuff when I get out of bed the next morning. A specific example is a dream I had just a day ago at the time of writing this. I was walking to a college class when one of my friends called out my name and said I should come hang out with them in a study room. I followed them in, and there was a collection of my buddies sitting at the table, and we basically just hung out and talked amongst each other. I woke up mid-conversation with someone and was genuinely disturbed to find out that I was suddenly in my bed. These dreams are the ones that I personally have most often, super mundane but hyper-realistic events that make me feel as though I'd just been living my life, when in reality, I was just sleeping in bed. World Sleep Day. World Sleep Day is something I was unaware of until doing research for this Iceberg. World Sleep Day is an annual event organized by the World Sleep Day Committee of the World Sleep Society since 2008. The goal is to celebrate the benefits of good and healthy sleep and to draw society's attention to the burden of sleep problems in their medical, educational, and social aspects, and to promote the prevention and management of sleep disorders. Daydreams. Daydreaming is the stream of consciousness that detaches from current external tasks when attention drifts to a more personal and internal direction. There are various names of this phenomenon, including mind-wandering, fantasy, spontaneous thoughts, and so on. There are generally considered to be different levels of daydreaming. People will commonly refer to any time someone is focused on their inward thoughts and not paying much attention to the outside world as daydreaming, something that I do all the time as a writer. In most basic terms, that's what daydreaming is, the absorption of the mind into a place that you aren't really at, except since you aren't sleeping, you should theoretically be at a higher cognitive ability. Any more intensity and it feels like the person is entering the realm of hallucinations, but the one constant agreed upon the parameter for something qualifying as a daydream is the disassociation of the mind to some degree. Deja vu. This is a really interesting phenomenon that I have personally experienced a few times. Deja vu is essentially the feeling that one gets when they believe they have lived an exact moment before. It is an illusion of memory, but despite a strong sense of recollection, the time, place, and context of the previous experience are uncertain or impossible. This isn't some obscure thing either. Approximately 2/3 of surveyed populations report experiencing deja vu at least one time in their lives. Researchers have made a correlation between deja vu and remembered dreams, but this connection doesn't really even begin to explain the sheer oddity that is deja vu. The major connection that deja vu has to dreams is that some people have claimed that they will have a dream of a specific event, and then days or even weeks later, the exact event will come to pass, giving them intense feelings that they have already lived it before. I've personally had this happen to myself, and honestly, it's a large part of why I decided to make a video on this iceberg, because the enigmas around dreams are just so perplexingly fascinating. Deja vu isn't just limited to dreams, obviously. There have also been times where I felt a strong feeling that I've lived through moments before, right down to being able to predict what someone was going to say before they said it, but having no recollection of a dream in similar nature. However, most of the times I've personally encountered deja vu is because I had a dream nearly identical to the current scenario, and seeing that many other people have reported this as well, it is incredibly interesting. Some wilder theories suggest that dreams take us to alternate realities, allowing us to see through different versions of ourselves at different points during our lives, while some theories postulate that the human soul is connected to eternity and is capable of providing the mind glimpses of times yet to come. In any case, deja vu and dreams seem to be pointedly connected to one another. Dream Man. Dream Man, also known as This Man, is a myth about a man that was supposedly been appearing in people's dreams since 2006. There's a lot you could talk about on this, and in fact, ScareTheater did a cool video on it years ago, which I've linked in the description if you want a longer analysis, but we'll just give the most important beats on the story here. The first image of this man was sketched in January 2006 by a well-known psychiatrist in New York, based on the descriptions of a patient who claims he has a recurring subject in his dreams, despite never knowing a man like him in real life. Several days later, another of the psychiatrist's patients recognized the drawing and said he was a figure in his dreams as well. The psychiatrist sent the image to fellow professionals and collected the testimony of 4 more people who claimed to recognize the man. Since then, more than 8,000 people from cities across the world have claimed to have seen the man while sleeping. However, based on what I found, this whole thing was a hoax. It was later exposed that this man was a hoax and was actually a guerrilla marketing campaign by an advertising agency. However, even though the inception of this whole thing was a hoax, many people still wonder about the thousands of unrelated people who claim to have seen this man in their dreams. While there are a few more grounded explanations about recognition patterns in brains, the idea of some sort of shared consciousness among human beings has been around for a long time, and theories about connected dreams or possibly dream invasion have been discussed. Somnophobia. Somnophobia is a dread or fear of going to sleep. Now, this is a fear that is obviously detrimental to health, as it can lead to sleep deprivation, which is very harmful to the human body, which spends about a third of its life asleep. However, this relates to dreams and nightmares in that there are times when people will awake from a particularly bad nightmare and be petrified of returning to sleep in case the nightmare should continue. Which leads into our next bonus entry that I've put onto the iceberg. Inescapable dreams. This is something that has happened to me repeatedly, and something that people on various internet forums have reported and discussed as well. The name is perhaps a bit dramatic, but I called it this because what I'm referring to here is when a person wakes up from a dream and then later goes back to sleep and returns to the dream they were just having. I know that in the past I've literally woken up, been cognitive enough to go to the bathroom and return to bed, only to find myself right back in the dream I was just having. Not only this, but right back at the exact moment that the dream left off. This has happened to me multiple times, and as though my brain did not want to let go of the dream for some reason, or that as long as I was sleeping that night, the dream would be inescapable. I know I keep giving personal anecdotes, but I feel like it is the simplest way to explain what the concept I'm talking about is. This whole phenomenon is weird due to the fact that most professionals agree that most dreams are immediately forgotten upon waking up, so the brain's ability to remember the dream so well that it can reinsert you back into the middle of it even after waking up is very strange indeed. Recurring dreams. Now, this is quite the fascinating one, and something that many people around the internet and myself as well can relate to. A recurring dream is a dream that will happen to a person multiple times across different nights, but will occasionally pop up as a dream again, nearly identical the last time they dreamt it. I know this has happened to me a lot over the years, where I wake up from a dream and think about how I had the exact same dream a few weeks ago. Some people report having a recurring dream on a time cycle. For instance, one might have the same dream once a month or even annually. Recurring dreams can sometimes reflect a state of mind that a person goes through every so often, but other times the dreams seem to have nothing to do with the person's psyche, leading many to wonder if recurring dreams exist in order to tell us something. Yes, this is on the iceberg. If you somehow don't already know what this is, you can go look it up yourself. For now, let's just say dreams can reflect the fantasies of the mind. Puffing gas. Now, this was on the iceberg, and the only thing I can think that it means is that some people have reported having much stronger lucid dreams after using laughing gas or some form of nitrous use. We talked about lucid dreams earlier, and this is basically the idea that substances like this can cause much more lucidity in dreams. Myoclonic jerks. This, in general terms, just refers to the involuntary twitching of a muscle. However, its placement on this iceberg leads me to believe it is referring to people moving while in a dream state. It is not at all uncommon for people to move their arms or legs while in the midst of a dream, or even sometimes wake up with their bed arranged differently or other minor things that were clearly done in their sleep. The physical body moving in addition to your dream body is interesting, as it reinforces the idea that your brain will sometimes truly believe it is in the world of your dream, even so much to move the physical appendages of your body. DMT. DMT is a hallucinogenic drug that can cause vivid hallucinations or overwhelming daydream like instances. People will take this to alter the quality of their consciousness, and it can also mimic near death experiences, with intricate dreams and psychedelic effects. Dream catchers. Dream catchers are an old legend, saying that when a dream catcher is hung above the place where you sleep, it moves freely in the night air and catches the dreams as they drift by. The good dreams, knowing their way, pass through the opening in the center of the webbing, while the bad dreams, not knowing the way, are caught in the webbing and destroyed at the first light of the morning sun. This is just a fun and little tradition and legend. Mirror dreams. Mirror dreams are a specific and fascinating type of dream. From what I found, this is typically referring to when someone looks into a mirror in their dreams. People have reported seeing their own reflection in their dreams, which isn't that strange, but some of the reports are people have claimed to look within a mirror and see no reflection at all, and perhaps even more creepily, sometimes a reflection of someone else looking back at them. Many researchers have tried to assign meanings to the different representations of mirrors in dreams, even down to the specific type of mirror a person is looking in. But as with anything concerning dreams, an exact reason or meaning can't necessarily be pinned to dreams about mirrors. This is something I can't personally relate to, like many of the other types of dreams on this iceberg, but the idea of looking into a mirror and seeing someone else or nothing at all is a terrifying notion. Sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis happens either when a person is in the process of falling asleep or waking up from sleep. What this entails is the complete lack of ability to move despite being awake and conscious. This in itself would be terrifying enough, but people are also known to have vivid hallucinations during sleep paralysis, giving rise to things like the sleep paralysis demon, or people will claim to see some sort of malicious entity with them during sleep paralysis. Some people can even hear or feel things that are not really there, adding much more to the fear factor of this condition. Researchers believe that this condition can be triggered by sleep deprivation or abnormal sleep cycles, or because of narcolepsy or psychological stress. Many believe that is caused by an underlying problem in the rapid eye movement sleep or specific genetics. However, sleep paralysis has also been observed to happen to otherwise healthy people, which is a terrifying thought. Some have theorized that sleep paralysis, specifically instances of the sleep paralysis demon, are some form of spiritual attack or encounter. Sleep talking. Sleep talking is the act of saying coherent words during sleep. This is primarily known because other people were in the room where a person is sleeping and heard them. This is just another example of the brain being so utterly absorbed within the dream reality that the physical body reacts to it in the real world. Coma sleep. Comas differ from sleep in that no physical stimulation can immediately wake someone up, and they are instead suspended in a prolonged instance of unconsciousness. Human brains often show no signs of the normal sleep wakefulness cycle whilst in a coma, which means they are usually unlikely to be dreaming. Yet many people have recovered from comas report dreams into which something of the outside world penetrated. Some people even claim to have been able to hear people talking to them while in the midst of their coma. Comas are an interesting and disturbing thing that aren't fully understood, and we have to rely on the stories of people who have awoken from them to get any idea as to what being in a coma really feels like. Aesthetic dreams. This is almost like an extension of the connections dreams have with deja vu. Prophetic dreams is the idea that some dreams can give the dreamer a glimpse into the future. Some people claim that they've had premonitions in dreams that served as warnings or simply a viewing of events that were yet to come. Others believe that dreams can be highly metaphorical or symbolic and are meant to be interpreted, which could lead to some visionary understanding of the future. This is a theme that is seen multiple times in the Bible, and many people believe that dreams still can have a prophetic nature to them. Strange dreams flyers. This is another bonus entry I've added onto the iceberg. I know of this from an analysis done by the Nexpo channel. The link to that video will be in the description, and we will give a brief rundown of it here. Some flyers began to be discovered with a strange message and phone number on them. They would read, "Have you been having strange dreams? The Willamette Valley Dream Survey is investigating a recent spike in bizarre, unexplainable dreams. If you have been experiencing any unusual dream activity, you can help by reporting a summary. Please call with a description of your dream. Upon calling the number, a machine would prompt you to give a description of your dream, and after doing so, the person would receive a message thanking them for participating." There's more to the mystery, and Nexpo covers it all in his video, so I highly encourage you to go check it out once you are finished with the iceberg. Night terrors. Night terrors, also called sleep terrors, is a sleep disorder causing feelings of panic or dread and typically occurring during the first hours of sleep. This is different from nightmares, as instead of occurring during dreams, this is sudden and intense feelings of panic or dread, causing people to sometimes roughly awake from sleep, bolting upright and in a sweat, or breathing heavily for no apparent reason. They will often yell, scream, or attempt to speak, though such speech is often incomprehensible. Some people have even been known to violently thrash their limbs during bouts of night terrors. Generally speaking, a person's actions following a night terror seem to be all indicative of trying to escape something, which can lead to a plethora of terrifying theories as to where the true source of night terrors come from. The prevalence of sleep terrors in general is unknown. The Hat Man. The Hat Man is a sort of mythological being in the world of sleep and dreams, and is personally one of my favorite entries on this iceberg, and not just because my channel avatar is basically cosplaying him. The Hat Man is often associated with the phenomenon of sleep paralysis mentioned earlier in the iceberg, as reports of seeing him during an episode are common enough to have people talking about it on the internet. And while many different areas and cultures of the world have varying legends and monsters surrounding sleep paralysis, or just weird things that your mind sees in the dark, the Hat Man is specifically interesting since stories about him can be found in a wide range of areas. Even more intriguing, the description varies only slightly from one culture to another. He's sometimes 6 feet tall and other times 10. His eyes might be bright red or deep pools of darkness. Some people claim he carries a golden pocket watch or is mist-like rather than a solid figure, but everybody insists he's wearing a trench coat-like jacket and wearing a very noticeable hat. In most accounts, he's also eerily quiet. He doesn't touch you, try to attack you, or sit on your chest like other sleep paralysis demons are known to do. He often just stands in a corner of the room, watching you. Sometimes he hovers over your chest, examining you closely. Some link him to the legends of shadow people, but that can stray quite far away from the dreams and nightmares aspect of it, which is what this iceberg is focused on. What I find most terrifying about the Hat Man is the fact that when you suspend your disbelief to just imagine that he is real, his motivations are completely unknown. He doesn't seem to necessarily be trying to hurt you, and he never acts aggressive. He just lurks in the dark corners of your room or the edges of your vision, watching you, always veiled behind his shadowy hat. Fever dreams. Fever dreams are dreams that an individual has during a fever, as the name would suggest, and are oftentimes they are especially vivid or hallucination-like. Researchers theorize that heating of the brain can affect cognitive processing, making fever dreams more strange than typical dreams. These dreams can last for around 2 hours, and some people will dream them in black and white, while others dream in full color. They are for some reason usually very unsettling dreams, similar to how nightmares disturb a dreamer upon waking up. The official cause of these dreams isn't fully known, and they often involve less interaction with dream characters and more confusing and unsettling imagery. Succubus and incubus. These are strange mythological creatures, typically being demon-like beings that sexually prey on human beings whilst they are sleeping. There are parallels to these beings in different cultures, and in many interpretations they do this to either feed off some sort of energy being put off by the human during the process, or to impregnate women with witches, demons, or otherwise deformed human offspring. Healing dreams. This most likely refers to dreams that people believe can heal the sleeper in some way. In many instances of this belief, people propose that certain dreams are meant to mentally balance or heal the mind or spirit of an individual, although there are some instances of belief in physical healing resulting from these dreams as well. What exactly these dreams are isn't set in stone and could be different based on the individual or circumstances. Some believe that these dreams come from a higher power or some sort of place of spirituality. False awakenings. You might be familiar with these from various forms of media that have used them for either dramatic or comedic effect. A false awakening is when one truly believes they have awakened from sleep or a dream, only to find that they never did and were in fact in a dream all along, usually only realizing it once they wake up for real. In many instances, this happens in a mundane sense, when one dreams waking up and going about their regular morning routine or whatever they generally do in a day, only to wake up again to find that they had never gotten out of bed at all. In other cases, it can happen when a person attempts to forcefully wake themselves from a dream, perhaps during a lucid dream or at any point when they have realized that they are in fact dreaming. There are also times when people claim to have been about to jarringly wake up out of a nightmare, as one usually does, only to find themselves within another dream. This is another one that's happened to me in the past, not as frequently as some of the other ones that I've mentioned I have personal experience with, but there are a couple times I can think of when I was sure I'd already woken up, only to be opening my eyes in bed once again. This concept is incredibly scary when you think about it in a larger sense. What if everything you've ever lived have just been one massive dream, and one day you will wake up and realize you are a completely different person with an entirely different life? Childhood dreams. I might be taking this one in a different direction than the iceberg was implying, but I think there's something really interesting to talk about with these. Upon researching this, you come across what you'd expect, researchers speculating behind children's dreams containing certain meanings and such. However, I want to talk about something a bit more weird: the fact that certain dreams seem to repeat as a child, then completely disappear when becoming an adult. As another personal experience, I used to regularly have the same set of dreams as a kid, ones that would always specifically unsettle me, yet came to be super familiar in a weird way. However, somewhere along the line, I just stopped having them. The strange thing is, I still remember them quite well. They haven't left my mind, I just no longer live with them in sleep. Once again, it seems like people around the internet can relate to this as well, creating another strange phenomenon in the world of dreams. Out of body dreams. From what I can tell, this most commonly means when you dream about yourself in the third person, usually when you are some immaterial being that is just surveying the dream like a movie, even watching yourself from this perspective. I've had a few of these, and they are really trippy. You can usually recognize that you are viewing yourself in the third person, but you don't always catch on to the fact that it isn't right at all. It's a bizarre and more rare occurrence than just normal first person dreaming, but can be extremely disorienting when it does happen. Lucid nightmare. As you probably guessed from the name, lucid nightmares are very similar to lucid dreams, just a lot more terrifying. Lucid dreaming is all about being aware that you are in a dream and being able to control events around you, whereas lucid nightmares are basically the same, just the situations are normally inevitably stressful or terrifying. I imagine it would be slightly less terrible if you were aware that you were in a nightmare, but then again, lucidity usually comes with a stronger layer of vividness. Dreamcore. Dreamcore is a type of artistic image or video that gives off an overwhelming sense that you have seen this place in your dreams, or perhaps have been there in some abstract way before, as well as exuding a level of uncomfortable familiarity and mystery. Some images from this category are showing on the screen right now and are quite fascinating to look at. The feeling they give off is hard to describe, and this feeling I found is elevated when you view them late at night, some video compilations of them setting the imagery to music that greatly sets the mood as well. It is usually a very surreal experience to take in. This might be off topic, but I get a very similar vibe to what these images give off when I listen to the song Thin Floors and Tall Ceilings by Odessa. It gives me this unexplainable existential dread while listening to it, and so do these images when I look at them. The one that always gets me the most is the "don't you wonder what's inside" image. There's just something about it that makes it feel so overtly wrong. It's a very weird feeling to be triggered from such a simple image and text. Whatever your interpretation or theories for the feelings that Dreamcore invokes, most people can agree that there is some element to these images that make us feel some distant familiarity, as though we have been there or seen them before in a dream. AZ drug. This refers to a drug known as 3-quineuclidinyl benzylate, and if you can pronounce that off the top of your head, I commend you greatly. It is an odorless and bitter-tasting military incapacitating agent, and is known for psychological and physiological effects, including intense delirium and hallucinations, which is why it has found a place in the nightmares and dreams iceberg. Alternate memory dreams. This is another bonus entry that I've put into the iceberg, something that me and many other people have experienced at some point while dreaming. During some dreams, people will realize they have different memories than they do in real life, yet in the dream, they don't notice a single thing isn't as it should be until they wake up and reflect upon it. This can be a relatively small thing, like their place of work being in a different location or the building looking entirely different. yet in their mind it is undoubtedly the place they've been going to work every day. Other times they are massive changes, people living out an entirely different life in their dream, with an entire alternate history and past within their memories as though it were completely normal and had always been their life. I've personally had this happen a few times, and waking up from these are some of the most terrifying and disorienting things ever. It feels like you were momentarily placed into an entirely different life, only to be ripped away back to what was yours. Stuff like this is what has given rise to the theories that dreams sort of place you within the consciousness of a version of yourself in a different universe or alternate timeline. Nightmare death. Now, this can refer to a strange and sudden nocturnal death among otherwise healthy individuals in certain culturally and genetically distinct populations. It is a terrifying, quick, and sudden death during sleep for apparently no reason, some crying out in sleep before quickly dying. Some have suggested the deaths are linked directly to some of the people's spiritual beliefs, while researchers believe it is linked to the specific genetics and heart defects. This can also wrap into the idea that people could die in real life when they die in a nightmare. Most dreams and nightmares where you feel as though you're about to die end either when you're at an apex of fear or have directly encountered the situation that should have killed you. While this isn't always the case, some people have wondered if it would be possible to die in reality as a result of dying in a dream, going along with ideas of dreams being linked to one's mind and soul and in some greater way. Albert Herpin. This was a man who was born in 1853 and claimed that he never slept, or at least not in the way that we would consider sleeping. He claims that he would rest but never fully doze off, making him a case of total insomnia. It's strange because every human seems to need sleep to live and function, so many people are skeptical of his claims. There is very little evidence to either support or refute his claim, and he maintained his position of sleeplessness for his entire life, dying at the age of 94. Ripped in a dream. There's a song by the same title which I've linked in the description, but I'm going to go with the more disturbing option for this entry. The idea that one could never wake from a dream. Imagine you fall into a dream, eventually realize you are in one, and despite your best efforts cannot wake yourself out of it and back into the real world. It would be a devastating reality to know that you're either trapped in a world that is not your own or existing within a construct of your mind that is detached from reality. In a sense, it would be like your old life has ended and a new one has begun, at least until your physical body dies and ends it all. Dream spying. This is an interesting and scary concept that has been seen in fictional media, but has been hypothesized by some to be theoretically possible. The idea of dream spying is that someone can sort of project their consciousness through dreaming to either view events that are going on elsewhere in the world, or more commonly, protrude into someone else's dream. This is what some people have attributed to the This Man mystery, a case of someone finding out how to travel to other people's dreams, hence why thousands of people have claimed to have seen them in their dreams. While a very far-fetched idea, the concept is certainly fascinating and eerie to think about. Interconnected narrative dreams. This is the final bonus entry and the final entry on the iceberg altogether. This is perhaps one of the strangest parts of dreaming that I've personally experienced the most, and is honestly one of the biggest proponents of driving my fascination with dreams and nightmares, when I found that other people on the internet have also experienced this phenomenon. This sort of draws from many different concepts that we've covered on this iceberg, most notably recurring dreams and alternate memory dreams. What I mean by this entry is that I'll go through periods of time where I'll have multiple dreams that are all sort of connected in one unified story. While I don't really remember them well in the waking world, when I go to sleep, my memory of prior events that have happened in the dream universe are as though they had really happened to me and as though I had never left the original dream at all, despite an entire day or multiple days passing. These storylines, as I call them, can range from ridiculous to relatively mundane, but they are definitely connected through a history that I am aware of while dreaming, and when I am capable of remembering them, there is definitely a coherent sequence of events tying them together. There also seems to be different dream universes, so to speak, where I'll have a different set of memories and past experiences based on what recurring dream narrative I'm currently experiencing. It is incredibly bizarre and very nearly otherworldly to think about, but at the same time, these are my favorite types of dreams to experience as they are so intricate and complex, genuinely making me believe I am living in them due to how detailed and lifelike they are, no matter how fantastical the situation is. And that brings us to the end of the iceberg of nightmares and dreams. This video has covered a lot of what I find to be some of the strangest parts of the world we live in, and I'd like to hear your experiences with dreams in the comments below. If you like mysterious or storyline oriented content, please check out the other videos I have on the channel and consider hitting the like and subscribe button to help me out. I also have a science fiction book series I sell on Amazon if you like reading, so if it looks at all interesting to you, please check it out. Thanks for watching, leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below, and until next time, it's been Playmaster.